spent in a miserable way.
US News NY. Today a subway want to get New York today by mail. It's Monday. Weather forget the cold. It's under sunny, alternate side parking suspended today and tomorrow for Lunar New Year. On Sunday, on a train platform in Queens. In response, for those the crime rate in the subways remains much lower than it was in the 1980s and 90s. A story by my colleagues Emma Fitzsimmons and Edna Sandoval found that many riders are concerned that crime and disorder may be heading in the wrong direction. A retired legal secretary said that when she takes the train, she makes sure there's nothing valuable in her purse. A woman in Brooklyn said she accompanies her 10-year-old grandson on the subway, for security. Even an MT, a dispatcher, Laura Hines, said she takes precautions. She avoids wearing. For long-time residents, the subways are much safer than they used to be. Scott M. String. Still, transit crimes were up 3.8% last year, and have been increasing since 2014. And a series of The transit police chief, Edward Delator, said that while crime remains relatively rare, the transit system is, in a way, a victim of its own success. The WIF police have said crime is so low that a handful of people you like that struck recently you can make a statistically significant dent. Tell us what you think for the subways getting more dangerous. And what are your The Times' William Newman reports. A 38-year-old gay doorman with far-right backing won a bitter election fight last week to become president of the Metropolitan Republican Club, a bastion of the city's GOP establishment. The club gained notoriety last year after Gavin McInnes, the founder of the right-wing nationalist group the Proud Boys, spoke there and the campaign for club president became. The eventual winner, Ian Walsh Riley, represented a segment of the party that celebrates the president's role as a disruptor. His opponents, Bob Morgan, 66, a lawyer, represent a more establishment brand of republicanism that goes back to Teddy Roosevelt. The club's membership more than doubled in the run-up to Wednesday's election, as both sides sought to enlist new members loyal to them. In the end, Mr. Riley outpolled Mr. Morgan 324 to 270. I see myself as a conservative and a centrist, Mr. Riley said. I am more socially. The latest accusation against El Chapo as young as 13 years old. Power was restored at a federal jail in Brooklyn a week without heat or electricity had inmates. Where to film Miss Beale Street could talk. In Greenwich Village, new on bookshelves at the hip-hop pioneers A Tribe Called Quest. What to do if your apartment is too hot in the winter. Insulate the radiator. Want more news from New York and around the region? The mini crossword here is: teenager charged with empty a bus joyride. The 18-year-old is accused of taking 4 buses since December. Closing a vaccine exemption. A state bill would eliminate loopholes for religious belief, in the wake of the recent measles outbreak. Limiting ICE arrests by court. State lawmakers want to require the immigration agency to get a judge's approval in advance. How New York got its gun laws. They followed the shootings of a journalist and a politician. Trader Joe's stops home delivery in Manhattan. Stores in other boroughs never offered it. Too much of a good thing. Starbucks played curious about Sir. Dear the Mid-Manhattan, how can you help preserve nature in the city? At the Brooklyn
Raindrop, drop top, top smoking, no cooking the hot pot. I keep fucking on your bitch, yeah, that. Looking up, open the park pot.